Terry Beach is the Federal Minister of Citizen Services. Hi, Minister. Pleasure to welcome you to our show. Thanks for making the time.
Hi, Vashi. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
In May, Minister, the Prime Minister said exactly this. One of the fundamental challenges around affordability is they would love to say, well, you know what, we just need more money. Can you send us more benefits or send us an extra $1,000 a month? As soon as you do that, inflation goes up by exactly that amount. Minister, why is your government doing exactly what the Prime Minister said it would not 6 months ago?
Well, I mean, we were in a different place 6 months ago. In the last year, we've actually stayed within the inflationary target for in all of 2024. We've seen that wages have outpaced inflation for the last 21 months. And now we're in a place with today's announcement where we have the fiscal room to be able to announce a very exciting $6 billion, actually more than $6 billion tax cut that is really focused on middle-class working people. And I think at this time where Canadians, are appreciating that we're in a lower inflationary environment, but really haven't felt the benefit of that directly, that this is really going to hit home.
So when you say that the inflationary environment is different, in May, when the Prime Minister made those statements, the rate of inflation was 2.9%, also well within the Bank of Canada's target range. So what is so different now?
Well, I mean, at that point, you were only within a couple of months. I think the other great thing about this particular program is how it's targeting. So we've actually looked at ways to make life more affordable through a whole bunch of different programs, whether it's childcare, pharmacare, dental care, etc. But it's been very hard to target specifically working middle class people. This is going to, the $250 benefit, which is the bulk of this, 75% of the measures that we're announcing today, is going to go directly to 18.7 million working middle class professionals. And that's a really great way of targeting a group of people that really need this benefit right now. When I knock on doors in my community, I have a lot of people that go, I see these affordability measures. I read the flyer that you produce every 30 days. But, my family's working really hard too, and we haven't seen a benefit, even though that we're struggling with affordability. This measure is speaking directly to those people.
With all due respect, though, Minister, when I have interviewed your cabinet colleague, Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, on numerous occasions, when she insisted a targeted approach was the only fiscally responsible way to go at it, she spoke about targeted in a completely different way. Her view of targeted was it was not a wide swath of Canadians. It would not direct benefits towards 18.7 million Canadians. It would be targeted so that it wasn't inflationary in nature. How can you call a benefit, a check that you're handing to people who make $149,000 a year targeted?
Well, to be fair, I mean, this is even less targeted than that, right? Because the GST cut is actually going to benefit all Canadians. And if you're
it's
getting
not targeted.
That part particularly isn't. But the 75% that is going to working middle class Canadians is targeted specifically to that group. So if you're making over $150,000 a year, unfortunately, you're not going to get that benefit. And if you're not working, unfortunately, you're not going to get that benefit. So yes, while it's a big group, it is a targeted group, and it's a group of individuals that I think you've seen all parties talk about finding relief for. In fact, I would be quite surprised if this doesn't unanimously pass through the House, because there have been, all of the parties in the House have tried to find ways to help working class Canadians right across the country. Taking this kind of measure when we had, say, 1 month of being within the Bank of Canada's target inflationary rate, that might not have been as responsible as it is now that we've done it where we've been within that range for almost an entire year. Also, we know that inflation has been outpaced by wages for 21 months. We also know that with these measures, our debt to GDP ratio will continue to go down. So it's the fiscal discipline that's been put in place for the last 2 years, which has been very difficult for Canadians and difficult for government as well to make sure we stay within those fiscal guardrails. But that's what's actually allowed us to lower interest rates faster than any other country, to get to a low inflationary environment faster than any other country, and what is allowing us today to make this measure, which is going to help working class Canadians. I mean, there's a lot of people talking down the economy right now. We are actually in a good fiscal position, but what's happening is that Canadians aren't feeling the benefit of that until today. This is going to directly benefit working middle-class Canadians. If it's a dual income household and both individuals are making less than $150,000, then both of those individuals are going to get $250. $500 tax-free is a significant help at a time when Canadians have been struggling.
To be clear, though, you're okay with blowing past one of the fiscal anchors that your own government set, as long as relative to other countries in the GDP, we're still doing okay?
I think that fiscal anchors are very important. That's why I am happy to hear when these measures were announced, that debt to GDP ratio continues to go down, that we continue to have the lowest debt to GDP ratio and the lowest deficit. And now we have an opportunity to give a $6 billion tax cut directly to Canadians at a time that they need it. The child care program has been transformational. When you talk to families that are in the $10 a day child care program, the difference that has made to their family is life-changing. And yeah, there needs to be more spots, and we've invested in that. We've committed to the 2% NATO target. That's an important thing to do, especially in a current context where we need to be talking about joint security and joint prosperity with our neighbors in the United States. So there's always these choices to make. But I would say that the measure that we're making today, it's helping families, it's helping children, it's going to help small businesses, it's going to help restaurants. It's kind of a win-win-win. And I expect, because of how beneficial it'll be for Canadians, I actually think that every party is going to vote for it. I could be wrong, but I'm very optimistic about it. I mean, I think it's going to be a significant help at the right time. But as you've already discussed very astutely in this conversation, we do have a fiscal framework that we have to stay within. This is over a $6 billion tax cut. If we get all the other provinces to join, it's going to be significantly more than that. For example, in British Columbia, right now, the announcement that I'm making is only 5% because that's the federal portion, whereas where you are in Ontario, it's 13% because it's HST. I'm hoping that Premier Eby will join us, so it'll be a 12% cut. But it's a very significant cut. And of course, we'll continue to measure our options as time goes on.
So that's not a hard no to the possibility of it extending longer than 2 months?
I don't think anything. I mean, all possibilities are always on the table, especially when it comes to making life more affordable for Canadians.
Okay, on that note, I'll leave it. Minister Beach, I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Vashi.